News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
4:05 now on this sunny Monday afternoon. And for Bill Walter, I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU News Update. It's brought to you by Roof Rescue. Utah State formally introducing its new men's basketball coach this afternoon during a press conference that was held in the Wayne Estes Center. USU President Noel Cockett introduced Coach Danny Sprinkle and said that she's confident he's the right man for the job.
I actually had the opportunity to be involved in the search, and I am certain that this is the man that we want to lead us forward with our men's basketball program.
Now, later, Coach Sprinkle talked about some of the great Aggie names who have coached and played for the school over the years, including Stu Morrill and Wayne Estes, and he says that visibility and being out in the community will be a main focus for him and his players.
You know, tradition is important. In college basketball, it's the most important. And when you're working in the weight room, when you're on campus, when you're in the community, you know, we're going to represent you guys well. And we're going to represent the community and every former player that ever put on that blue and white jersey.
For now, though, Coach Sprinkle said his number one focus is recruiting. Well, coming up in just a moment, no injuries after a small aircraft loses power and makes an emergency landing over the weekend. I'll get to that story on the way in just a minute as we're enjoying some sunshine today. Temperatures have been in the mid-50s. It's going to be even warmer tomorrow as we'll enjoy these clear skies through the rest of the afternoon and into tonight. Overnight temperatures expected to drop into the low 40s. Then tomorrow, heading into the mid to low 60s, which would make it the warmest day so far this year, before another storm front comes in, bringing with it a possibility of some rain, even maybe a little bit of snow mixed in with it for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Well, a pilot was uninjured after his small aircraft lost power and landed and then flipped over in Morgan County over the weekend. Officials said they were notified of the incident just before 7:30 Saturday night. They said the 62-year-old man had flown out of the Sky Park Airport in Woods Cross and was flying over Morgan at about 9,000 feet when an oil line blew, causing the aircraft to lose power. Now, the pilot attempted an emergency landing in a field, and officials said the plane landed and then flipped over. The pilot was assessed on the scene and had no injuries. Meanwhile, a pilot and passenger were rescued after a helicopter crash in Wasatch County over the weekend as well. Search teams responded to the scene near Midway at around 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon. Officials said the pilot and passenger were in good shape and were able to hike out without any injuries. And finally, a teenager suspected of assault and attempted kidnapping of a third-grade student has been detained. The 16-year-old suspect allegedly grabbed an 8-year-old girl outside Whittier Elementary School last week in West Valley City. Officials said the teen is also a student at a non-traditional program in the Granite School District who lives in the area of the school. Police released photos and video surveillance of the suspect after the incident and said that they then later received several tips. Granite officials said in a press release that they were extremely grateful for the investigative efforts of law enforcement and members of the community who came forward with tips and information. Get more on these and other stories at CacheValleyDaily.com. I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU News Update. With so much financial uncertainty, are you wondering if your retirement savings will last? The market's ups and downs can keep you guessing, especially if you're approaching retirement or considering it. Your Edward Jones financial advisor can help. If you have more questions than answers about what's next, they can work with you to help ensure you're prepared for the future. After all, retirement isn't the end of the road, it's a new beginning. Call one of the 7 branch locations in Cache Valley or go to edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Some companies will quote you a lower price just to get you to commit to having them perform a service for you, but not John Hanson, the Duck Hunter. When you see coupons or prices advertised for services, we highly recommend you call and ask a lot of questions. Find out what other costs might be added, what type of equipment and experience they have, and what you can expect from their finished result. This tip will get you better service and a good price. For a free consultation on air duct cleaning and dryer vent line cleaning, call the Duct Hunter, 770-4813.
We are the Duck Hunter.
The guys at UNI Furniture are grateful for all the snow we've been blessed with this winter, but they're ready for spring. Shop UNI's spring sale on mattresses. UNI Furniture's most talked about mattress is the copper-infused memory foam. It's by far the coolest and most responsive to touch mattress they've ever seen, and it's great for side sleepers and people with back issues. Come in for a demo. Whether it's a mattress, a full bedroom set, a comfy sectional, or just a chair, you'll always find a better buy at UNI Furniture. UNI Furniture, downtown Logan.
KVNU's For the People with Jason Williams and Bill Walter.
And it is Utah known as the fraud capital of the world. Not because we have more people committing fraud, but because we have so many people falling for it.
Going beneath the headlines and connecting you to the newsmakers.
The radio is a great way to get the word out to a lot of people in an emergency, so we thank you for your help and being a partner with us.
For the People on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, online at 610kvnu.com, and on the KVNU mobile app.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. I'm Jason Williams. Bill Walter out this week. Bill, if you're out there listening, I already miss you. I've already pushed several wrong buttons and the show just barely started. Big show today. Congressman Blake Moore will be joining us later on in the program. He is sitting on, I think, one of the most important committees right now, headed into the debt ceiling fight that is assured for us, good or bad. It'll be bad this summer. Congressman Moore sits on the very powerful House Ways and Means Committee, and of course, with Republicans with a majority, it's only a few seats, but it is a majority in the House. That means they control and have the majority makeup on this committee. Then in the Senate, of course, Democrats have control. They had a good year when it came to those Senate races last fall, and they will be coming at the debt ceiling and debt at large from a very different perspective. And we're going to discuss this with Congressman Moore, but what makes this so interesting, neither party has enough of them. Democrats, of course, have the edge because anything that happens has to be signed by the president, who is Joe Biden, a Democrat. You may have heard. But what's interesting about this, different than these previous debt ceiling fights, which, just to be clear, really have nothing to do with controlling the debt. The debt ceiling vote is basically a vote by Congress to pay the bills, to pay the bills that have already been racked up. So withholding, a debt ceiling hike approval, you're literally saying, well, we're just not going to pay our bills. We'll default on all these and let the collectors come calling. It's not a responsible thing to do. How this became an annual battle, I have no idea. It should never have. But it is going to happen again. And both parties are going to have to figure out a way to get along and do something if they want to move forward, because neither party has enough power in either chamber, even with the Democrats having the White House as well, to just call all the shots. So this is going to be an interesting one, and Congressman Blake Moore, sitting on that Ways and Means Committee, he's going to be right in the thick of it. So he's going to be joining us in hour two. But a quick announcement, that is ahead of his town hall this evening. So for everyone out there listening now, Congressman Moore will be parting ways with us, and at 5:30 he'll be in Brigham City at a town hall. This is the Box Elder County Town Hall at the Autoleave Auditorium. That's at the USU campus in Brigham City, the Autoleave Auditorium there on the Brigham City, Utah State University campus, right off of the light at the bottom of the canyon for everyone in Cache Valley. That's how you recognize it, just right of the light there. But it's 989 South Main Street in Brigham City. That's 5:30 to 6:30 p.m., a town hall open to anyone for Box Elder County. The Cache Town Hall took place earlier today, 12:30 to 1:30 at Bridgeland. That is over and done with, but you can make it to this one in Box Elder tonight at the Brigham City USU campus in the Autoleave Auditorium there, which is right as you enter the main entranceway there at the Brigham City USU campus. That's 5:30 to 6:30. If you can't make that, on Wednesday, Congressman Moore will be hosting two more town halls in Weber County and Davis County, 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. at the Cross Hall Health Technology Building on the Ogden Technical College campus. That's 200 North Washington Boulevard in Ogden at 5:30 Wednesday. And then later on that evening in Davis County, 7:30 p.m., a town hall will begin at the West Point City Hall at the 3200 West, 300 North, West Point, Utah. So plenty of opportunities for you to get out and be a part of these town halls. And if you've never had an opportunity to be a part of a town hall hosted by Congressman Moore, you really should. Regardless of whether you agree with his politics or not, or his votes or not, he is one of the most forthright elected representatives I think I have ever met, meaning that he will answer any question that you throw at him without a blink. And maybe one day that'll end his career. I don't know. Politics these days seem to require a little bit of disingenuousness from regardless of party or vote history. But Congressman Moore, a very sincere guy, and he will literally field any question. I've seen it happen. He's let me do it to him here in the studio. It's really, unfortunately, a very rare thing these days in politics, even in our representation here in Utah, unfortunately. But take advantage of that. Get out to one of these town halls with your questions. Again, regardless of your party affiliation, whether you agree with Congressman Moore or not, these are opportunities for you to ask questions, get them answered live, unscripted, and it's part of the process for us to use these town halls to hold our elected officials accountable. So please do so. Coming up later on in the show, Utah golf courses say they are reducing some water. The problem is only a few of them can actually prove it, and a Salt Lake Tribune report shows that more than a few of them aren't even tracking the water they use. So we'll get to that later on. That is also part of the long list that I have, everyone, for today in our contribution to the news cycle, bringing you the news while keeping the temperature cool. It is time for your headlines and smooth jazz for today, Monday, April 10th. This day in history, not a great day for travelers. This day in 1912, the Titanic left its port on that ill-fated voyage, and we all know how that ended. But it was on this day in 1912 that, to cheers and celebration, the Titanic left its port and headed on a route that it would not complete. Again, this day in 1912. For golfers out there who maybe spent their weekend with the Masters, the Professional Golfers Association of America was created on paper this day in 1916. This day in 1925, The Great Gatsby was published, F. Scott Fitzgerald's famous novel. Not one of my favorites. And this day, sad day in music history, for Beatles fans especially, this day in 1970, Paul McCartney made it official that the Beatles had broken up and would not be recording new music together as a foursome. That was this day in 1970. It was such a big deal. It was the news cycle for a good week and brought people to tears, including a couple of journalists who had made their name in TV news reporting, saying that it was an end of a rock and roll era. Paul McCartney himself teared up during that announcement, saying, as explanation, just that it was time for them to move in different directions, promising that the Beatles would always be friends. He said the band itself has reached its end, and the Beatles broke up on this day in 1970. Famous birthdays today. The founder of the Salvation Army, William Booth, who also is an interesting character to read about from history in a lot of different ways, was born on this day in 1829. One of the Commodores, Matthew Perry, opened... just kidding. Commodore Matthew Perry, who first opened diplomatic relations with Japan, was born on this day in 1794. Joseph Pulitzer, who published, created the famous Journalism Prize, or who as a publisher created the famous Journalism Prize, born on this day in 1847. Actor Omar Sharif was born on this day in 1832. Steven Seagal, still with us, born on this day in 1952. And one of my favorites, sports commentator John Madden, celebrates a birthday, or would be celebrating a birthday today. in 1936, the year he was born. Those are your highlights from history. In the headlines today here in Utah, on top of, I've criticized them a lot here on the show, these two social media bills that Governor Cox is touting as a solution to what he calls a mental health crisis in America's teens. And even here in Utah, he says social media is causing harm. I've criticized the governor's approach to these and the bills he's championing, passed by his cousin, actually, Senator Mike McKell, saying that it's a drug war approach. To agreeing with the governor there's a problem, I say these bills are a drug war approach, and that we've learned doesn't work. Restrictions and curfews and things like that, not going to change a thing. Education and research would probably be a smarter approach. But some more evidence today from a poll that the governor is off the mark. Deseret News Hinckley Institute of Politics poll found that a majority of Utah adults with children do not favor limiting social media in this way. Only 51% of those said that limiting social media use would actually lead to anything useful for them as parents. But more than 60% said holding social media companies accountable for the rules and tools already in place would be their preference. Referencing specifically in this poll parental controls that are already available and the supposed requirement that when an account is registered for someone under the age of 18, the content they see will be carefully curated for an 18 and under crowd. Parents say the social media giants, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok, aren't so good at this. But in the poll, they said, should they get good at this, that would be enough in their mind as parents to solve the problem with social media and the troubles they're having with their kids and its use. They also said they see social media for their teens as a greater good in this survey, citing the ability of teens to talk with their peers about things like sexuality, mental health, and even the values of the community. Parents in this poll said they would prefer that their kids retain access to social media and that restrictions like a curfew they don't feel would do them much good as far as parents raising kids, in teens specifically, in this day and age. Utah State University kicked off Research Week today. Each year, the Office of Research celebrates the work of faculty, students, undergraduates, and grad students both in Research Week. And Research Week 2023 is underway starting today. Well, it actually started on the 30th with faculty awards, but those are kind of more of a private thing. Today, they kicked off at the D. Wynn Thorne Career Research Award Lecture, which featured Dr. Melanie Domenic Rodriguez, recipient of the 2022 D. Wayne Thorne Award for her research, and that took place this morning, officially kicking off the events of Research Week. From here until the 14th, you can get up to the Merrill Kazir Library and check out the faculty author exhibit, highlighting some of the published works of Utah State University's faculty and research. On the 11th and 12th, 2 days of Student Research Symposium. SRS, the Student Research Symposium, a part of Research Week, celebrates student research, but also gives the public and other students a chance to actually get intimate with this research, learn what is being worked on, and also forces the students behind the research to brush up on their communication skills. They have to present the research and then field a lengthy, sometimes Q&A session with audience members. The 2 days of Student Research Symposium will be 10:30 to a.m. to 3:30 p.m. each day, April 11th and 12th, tomorrow and Wednesday, at the Merrill Kazir Library. You can also stream those presentations, if not the entire Q&A if it goes over, online via the Research Symposium website. And then finally, on April 14th, Research Week will come to a close with the Student Research Awards Ceremony, where student researchers will be awarded with various recognition in their area of study. This does include doctoral students from the past year, graduate and undergraduate alike, and that will be 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. on April 14th. in the south atrium of the Merrill Kazir Library. If you've never had a chance to see what research is being conducted by students at Utah State University, it is definitely something to see, and Research Week continues throughout the week. In science news today, mathematicians decided this was probably a thing they could figure out when video of foot traffic, pedestrians at London's King Crossing station. Someone happened to notice, this was a long time ago, by the way, about 10 years ago, someone noticed that with each arrival of, whether it was a slew of buses or a train, this huge influx of pedestrians would hit the central point of the station all at once. And it was just chaos, complete anarchy. People coming from every direction at the same time with only two directions they can go out. It was just an absolute mess. But a worker at King's Cross noticed watching surveillance video that each and every time, so this is almost hourly throughout the day, the chaos within a minute or two would sort itself into two very predictable bidirectional lines. This worker pointed it out to some coworkers, and eventually it made its way to some mathematicians around the world who said, this is predictable. How? They didn't know. The article I've linked on our Facebook page explains it, and it's a little complicated, but the short version of it is that there is just a common sense that everyone has when you run into a crowd of people and everyone's moving in a different direction, but then you see one stream kind of making its way just a bit faster through that anarchy. Everyone falls in line. And it's an innate sense of following the crowd. Mathematicians say see the same thing in traffic. And one of the reasons that it happens in traffic is, well, if you're all moving in the same direction on this side of the freeway and everyone else is moving the same direction on that other side of the freeway, well, you can kind of relax a little bit. Just pay attention to people changing lanes or something that might pop up ahead of you, causing you to brake. But otherwise, much safer place to be. When you come upon an intersection, well, that's when the odds of an accident are really going to increase. We've all learned that in the automobile age, researchers say it, because we've all experienced it or know someone who has. Well, the same exact thing happens when you run upon a mass of people on foot. We all know that chaos is eventually going to lead to collision, which is an unpleasant thing. So, orderly lines, an innate sense everyone has, to start to fall in line. The video itself is fascinating, but the research even more so. I've linked to it on our Facebook page. Please check it out. Those are your headlines and smooth jazz for today, April 10th, and we'll be back with more right after this.
Intermountain Budge ENT Clinic has an experienced and caring team of physicians and staff to assist you with all of your ear, nose, and throat concerns, including head and neck surgery. Doctors Kaiser and Wilson and their staff at Intermountain Budge ENT Clinic will work together to provide excellent care and support throughout the entire surgery process, from your pre-op visit to your full recovery, and they accept all insurance. For more information about Doctors Kaiser or Wilson, search Budge Clinic ENT or call 435-716-1420. Local care with Intermountain expertise.
It's time for Valley Recycling's annual Earth Day event. Bring your aluminum cans, old automobiles, copper, steel, and other metal scrap to Valley Recycling's facility at 145 North 10th West in Logan to receive bonus pricing. This year's Earth Day events will run from Monday, April 10th through Saturday, April 15th. In addition to the bonus pricing, customers will receive food coupons to Firehouse Pizzeria and giveaways from other local vendors. For pricing and other information, visit valleymetalrecycling.com.
Spring has sprung, and so have the deals at Murdoch Chevrolet.
Ready for a season of adventure? Get behind the wheel of a brand new car during our spring sales event.
Right now, receive 0% for 4 years on a 2023 Silverado.
When you walk through our doors, you feel like family.
At Murdoch Chevrolet in Logan and Woods Cross or online at murdochchev.com.
Chevrolet, find new roads.
Call 866-628-3065 or see dealer for complete details. Offer expires 5/1/23.
This message is for Karina, our mom who finished her high school diploma at age 28. Hi, Mom. It's Emmettith and Nicholas.
Congratulations on getting your diploma.
You worked so hard and have taught us so much. We love you.
When you graduate, they graduate. Finish your high school diploma for you and for them. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Again, coming up, Congressman Blake Moore sits down with us here in the studio. We've got a lot of questions that were sent in by listeners, and there's a lot he wants to talk about in what is stacking up to be a pretty busy time for Congress, especially for a congressional representative like Moore, who is currently sitting on the Ways and Means Committee, which is about to become the most important committee in the nation for the summer debt ceiling debate. So we'll talk to Congressman Moore coming up in hour 2. Be sure and stay tuned for that. Coming up this hour, Utah golf courses say they have taken some steps to reduce water usage. The Salt Lake Tribune, though, finds that most of them aren't even tracking the water they use. And the Tribune, through public records requests, has found out who the biggest water users are and who made the biggest improvements in the last 2 years of drought. We'll talk about that on the other side of the news. Quickly, before we go to the news, just an interesting, they do these every quarter at the Kempsey Gardner Policy Institute, and it's done in a couple of different ways. It's a survey that's sent out, so it's different than a poll because it's not a random sampling. It's a survey with the goal being to survey the same group of people over and over with the hope of not, predicting an election or the outcome of some event, but rather gauging consumer confidence here in Utah. So they survey the same, and I think this is thousands that they survey. They survey the same people over and over, or at least as close to the same group as they can get. And the goal, again, is to spot trends. And the survey results for the year so far is, quote, unchanged. Consumer Confidence Index from January to March reflects, Kempsey Gardner Institute researchers say, continued uncertainty among Utahns. That was reflected in the end of the year survey for the final quarter of the year. The reason they believe, from respondents asked to offer some detail on why they felt uncertain about the economy, mixed signals was the conclusion. Negative economic signals, including hiked interest rates and that recent Silicon Valley banking crisis that kind of came and went quickly, but it exposed again that there are some flaws in the system. That combined with positive economic signals that Utahns as individuals, so let me put it this way, they're seeing some news that reminds them of previous recessions or bad economic times, and they're seeing that frequently enough, they're a little anxious about the economy. But in their personal lives, they are seeing signals that everything's great. And that's leading to this back and forth between, okay, it's probably going to be fine, it's probably going to implode, uncertainty, as economists call it. Utahns are noticing a strong labor market, the Kempsey Gardner Institute says in the press release today, and improvements, especially when it comes to inflation, starting to see some of those prices go down. So overall, the positive and negative signals are kind of washing each other out and don't appear to be much influencing the sentiment of Utahns. Consumer confidence surveying, of course, is used to gauge how much money people are spending, how active consumers are with opening their wallets out there. The Utah Consumer Confidence Survey borrowed questions from the University of Michigan's survey of consumers, and just as a random sampling there, they found the same thing. Data gathered to the questions used to create the index for Utah, showing again that people aren't sitting on their money or closing up their wallets, but when asked about the future, they're uncertain because, again, mixed messages. Headlines and even political news makes them feel that maybe something not so great is just around the corner. But then in their personal lives, they're seeing prices come down and the job market looking great. And so those two are canceling each other out, and everybody locked into just a perpetual state of uncertainty. Though Kempsey Gardner Institute says the good news is this does not appear to be yet influencing consumer activity. meaning that consumers are still spending and keeping the economy vibrant throughout the Intermountain West, not just here in Utah. So looking at some Colorado data, they said. So good news, but weird news, I guess, when it comes to how consumers are feeling about the economy. Basically, they just aren't sure. The headlines seem bad, their personal lives not so bad, and so no one wants to make a prediction, basically. Check it out. Their methodology is really interesting, and you can download the full data set from the survey via the Kempsey Gardner Institute's website at the University of Utah, which is gardner.utah.edu. I've linked to it on our Facebook page. On the other side, what a Salt Lake Tribune investigation into golf course water use has to reveal, hot on the heels of a legislative dust-up during the session that left one lawmaker, well, he says, still pretty angry at his colleagues for blocking his transparency bill to force golf courses to report the water they use. The representative says this Salt Lake Tribune investigation feels vindicating, and he'll be bringing that bill back now with even more evidence. It's necessary. Why and what the investigation revealed coming up after these headlines with KVNU's Will Feel Right.
Thank you, Jason. The news this hour is brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry. Law enforcement have arrested a 25-year-old Logan man with a lengthy criminal history of burglary and drug crimes. Levi Scott Pfeiffer was booked into the Cache County Jail after being located by Logan City police officers Friday night. According to jail records, Pfeiffer was booked on suspicion of theft, vehicle burglary, unlawful possession of a credit card, and other offenses. He's being held in jail on an outstanding warrant. The Logan City Police Department posted several videos of Pfeiffer on its social media pages Friday afternoon, asking for the public's help locating him. They explained how he was wanted in connection with mail theft, several vehicle burglaries, drug possession, and the use of stolen credit cards. Now, in December of 2016, Pfeiffer and another male individual walked into the Hiram Subway restaurant, threatening to shoot the place up if employees didn't give them money. They made off with about $150 and were arrested shortly after. Pfeiffer later pleaded guilty to robbery, a second-degree felony, and was sentenced to 6 months in jail. Now, since completing his jail sentence, Pfeiffer has been charged with multiple other crimes, ranging from possession or use of a controlled substance to burglary and theft. Several of the cases have been put on hold as the defendant claimed he was seeking drug treatment and hiring an attorney. Well, a month ago, an effort was launched to repeal a bill passed in the Utah legislative session that had green-lighted a new state flag for Utah. During KVNU's For the People show last week, Chad Saunders, who is leading the referendum, said that they need exactly 134,646 signatures to force the issue to possibly be decided by voters. And there are still some other requirements as well.
It has to be 8% of the voting population of the registered voters in 15 of the 29 senatorial districts.
Now, he also talked about how their effort is going.
When you go door to door, or when you have people come up, most people are willing to sign without any real debate on it. It runs about, I'd say, 2 out of every 10 say no thanks. And the other thing that's important too is we get a lot of they didn't know what was going on, or they don't know what's going on, or they're not sure. And once we explain it to them, they're like, yeah, no, I don't want that. Let me sign.
Now, the group has until Wednesday to get the required number of signatures. And a woman was hospitalized after sustaining a head injury at Snow Canyon. Search and rescue teams responded to the area on Sunday after they said the woman fell into a lava tube and sustained a head injury. They said that a Stokes basket and ropes were used to safely remove the woman from the lava tube and then carry her to a Lifeline helicopter. Washington County officials expressed thanks to all the volunteers for taking time out of their busy Easter weekend to help out. Well, looking at clear skies to continue through the rest of the afternoon and into tonight. As we've been in the mid-50s, tonight we'll drop into the low 40s. Tomorrow, mid to low 60s expected, as we'll enjoy more sunny weather and then another round of storms, bringing with it a chance of some moisture beginning Wednesday and continuing through the rest of the week. I'm Will Feelright for KVNU News.
This is Tammy Siemens bringing you the Daily Financial Market Report for April 10th, 2023. On behalf of financial advisor T.J. Davis and Edward Jones. After opening lower, equities spent most of Monday fluctuating around the flat line, with the S&P 500 closing 0.1% higher and the Dow adding 100 points. It was a quiet start to the week as markets processed last Friday's unemployment data while exhibiting a holding pattern ahead of this week's highly anticipated inflation report. The Dow closed up 101 points at 33,587. The Nasdaq closed down at 4 points at 12,084. The S&P 500 closed up 4 points at 4,109. In stocks of local interest, Thermo Fisher was down 99 cents at 574.36. Zions Bancorp was up 48 cents at 29.87. Autoliv was up $1.09 at 88.57. Northrop Grumman was up $6.15 at 476.54. Home Depot was up $2.56 at 291.17. Lowe's was up $1.21 at 199.78. This has been today's financial market report and stocks of local interest brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and financial advisor TJ Davis, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice at 575 East, 1400 North, Suite 150, North Logan. If you would like additional information, please contact our office at 435-753-0153 or any of the local 7 branches located in Providence, Logan, and Smithfield. Have a great day.
My hearing started to go right around the same time my wife started naming off all the upgrades she wanted done on the house. I figured it was selective hearing. To be honest, I was actually pretty upset when it was suggested that I might need hearing aids, but ultimately I knew it was time for a change.
At Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology, we can help you regain the confidence that you're hearing life the way it was meant to be heard.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Visit CacheHearing.com for details.
Elements has delicious lunch specials, 2 for $30, or the new soup, salad, and bread special for just $10. It's tasty and quick. Elements lunch menu is full of scrumptious items prepared with a personal touch. Wood-fired pizzas are an excellent choice that include barbecue chicken and the bee's knees. The fresh battered halibut fish and chips with seasoned fries is always a hit. And don't forget the fan favorite Munster burger, casual or professional. Open Monday through Thursday, 11:30 to 8 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11:30 to 9 p.m. Visit theelementsrestaurant.com for reservations today.
Hi, this is James Stevens with White Pine Funeral Services. At White Pine, we value compassion, integrity, and service. We are committed to serving you and treating your family as our family. We will be here when you need us most, to listen, to help, and to provide exactly what your circumstances require. At White Pine, we promise to dedicate our time and attention to you and your family. We invite you to come by and meet us. We're confident you'll feel a difference.
Papa, why can't we telegraph while riding a horse?
Son, there ain't no one to blame but Jeffro. He was riding old Betsy the Stallion, tip-tapping away at his telegraph, when blam! Ran right into the side of the saloon.
Well, if Jeffro can't do it, neither should you. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
The Above and Beyond Salute.
Hello. Is this Kenny Grohl from Minden?
It is.
Somebody in our community nominated you and told us how you've been a firefighter and EMT for 20 years with the Logan City Fire Department. I guess last week they said you demonstrated going above and beyond by helping to retrieve a coworker's snowmobile that was buried in an avalanche by Mount Logan. That happened?
Yeah, that did happen.
Well, we've got a $40 gift card we'd love to give you as a way of saying thanks for going above and beyond in our community.
That's awesome.
Submit your nominations for the Above and Beyond Salute by visiting kvnutalk.com.
Total control. Bing, bing, bong, bong, bing, bing, bing. You know what that is, right?
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Congressman Blake Moore, our guest in Hour 2. Be sure to tune in for an update on everything and all things Congressman Moore. His position there on the Ways and Means Committee is about to become, I think, one of the most important committees in the land for a few months as that debt ceiling debate really gets underway this summer. Congressman Moore well positioned there and coming at it from a unique perspective, too. It's not the typical partisan back and forth for him in how he wants to approach this, though I'm sure those on the left will find plenty to disagree with him on, and those on the right may not think he goes far enough. Where he's coming from, it's a compelling case for actually solving the debt problem, which, let's be honest, isn't something we've heard a lot of from anyone in Congress, regardless of party, in our lifetimes. They all want to talk about it. They all agree it's a problem that needs addressing. They definitely, as should be the case, have different ideas on how to address it, but it's mostly just something they talk about when on cable TV or running for re-election. No one actually comes up with a proposal to take a first step, at least not a serious one. And again, I haven't seen it in my lifetime. Congressman Moore, though, wants to change that. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. Congressman Moore, of course, in town for town halls as well. So just a reminder, he'll leave our studio for the Brigham City Town Hall at 5:30. That's at the Autoleave Auditorium there at the USU Brigham City campus. It's right in the center of that building. You can't miss it when you walk in the entrance there. And, of course, the USU Brigham City campus just right of the light there at the bottom of the canyon. You can't miss the campus either. That is tonight, 5:30 to 6:30, a town hall open to anyone. So make time for that if you can. If you can't, on Wednesday, 2 more town halls, one in Weber County, which will take place at the Ogden Technical School there on Washington Boulevard, and that is at 5:30. Then later on in the evening at the West Point City Hall in Davis County, a town hall with Congressman Moore kicks off at 7:30 Wednesday evening. So if you can't make the Brigham City Town, you've already missed the Cache County Town Hall. That was earlier today at noon. But one in Brigham City at 5:30 tonight, 45 minutes from now, and then on Wednesday, one at 5:30 in Ogden at the Ogden Technical College there on Washington Boulevard, and then on Wednesday later on in the evening at 7:30, there is a final town hall with Congressman Moore, again in Davis County at the West Point City offices. So the city building there in West Point. All that information can be found on his website, by the way, blakemore.house.gov for dates and times on town halls, even those coming up in a couple months. He'll be back for another slew of these. And also take a second to subscribe to his newsletter there, because we're going to talk about that a lot coming up in hour 2 when he arrives, because it is a newsletter with a lot of content in it lately, because he's working on a lot of things. So, again, agree with him or not, this is your job as a voter to hold them accountable, to keep tabs on what they're up to. So here's your opportunity to do that. Coming up in hour 2 of today's show, Congressman Blake Moore in the studio, and then you can catch him at 5:30 at a town hall in Brigham City. So he and you will have to hurry, but you can do both. It's doable. So he'll be with us at the start of hour 2 of today's show. Big report, much anticipated report. The Salt Lake Tribune, journalists from the Salt Lake Tribune started teasing this one a few weeks ago on Twitter and Instagram, and it all stems from a legislative debate that left one Republican lawmaker fuming. Republican Doug Welton had a bill during the legislative session that died in committee. It was killed by his Republican friends. Why? It was a bill that simply said, look, we're a state that likes to tout itself as caring about transparency, and so we should mandate, being a desert state dealing with all this drought, all this water conservation effort, all this money that's going to be spent trying to save the Great Salt Lake. Welton said, this is great stuff, but if we don't know what we're working with, how can we really know what the challenges are? And he said one of those challenges is that everyone I've asked has no idea how much water golf courses are actually using, because we don't require them to report it like we do everyone else who uses water. Welton said this seems like a gift to the industry, probably carved out by a former lawmaker at some point, and the legislature should undo that loophole. It died in committee faster than any other bill this session. Apparently the golf course lobby is powerful and scary. I don't know what it is, but one lawmaker actually said, well, I think this could be bad if the public knew how much water golf courses are using, because then they'd maybe be mad at them. I'm paraphrasing, but that's literally what one of the opponents of the bill said. Welton responded with, well, isn't that the point? If we have a problem here, we can address it, but we can't address it if we don't know we have a problem. So his bill would have closed a loophole that no one seems to know where it came from in the first place, that exempts golf courses from reporting their water use like everyone else has to. Well, Welton's got to be feeling pretty good today, because the report was published by the Tribune this morning, and what it shows is that he was on to something. A combination of data that was sent in willingly by some golf courses, public records requests for the golf courses that wouldn't submit data to the Tribune willingly, and then, of course, crossing off a few courses that have closed, like here in Cache County, the Sardine Canyon, the Sherwood Hills Resort golf course, no longer in operation. So they didn't bother with data from past years with those that have closed, including as well the Belmont Hot Springs Camper World in Garland, which closed, and Wing Point in Salt Lake City, which also closed. They left those out. So they didn't go backwards, but here's what they found. Well, the first thing they found is that some golf courses aren't even collecting the data themselves. They have no idea how much water they're using. So not only is this information the public can't access, but they have no clue either. The second thing they found out is that this is good news. Most golf courses, when public awareness of the pandemic started to really, get out there, and the governor started beating that drum, water districts started sending out, public awareness campaigns were rampant for good reason. And what they found is that the majority of golf courses throughout the state, responsibly started reining in their water use. So the data they had actually goes back to 2018. But if you look specifically in 2020, 21, and 22, most golf courses really started to try and do something about their water use. The golf, Golf the Round was the prime example of one of the largest water users in 2018 and 19 at this is 1,200 acre feet in annual use. An acre foot is basically 326,000 gallons. So times that by 1,200, that's what Golf the Round was using in 2018 and 19. 2020, 21, and 22, they started to drag it down a little bit. 2020, it was close to the same. And then, boom, 2021, they cut it in half. Dropped from 1,200 acre feet a year, which, again, is an acre foot, each acre foot, 326,000 gallons. They dropped that down to less than 500, less than 500 acre feet a year. And then in 2022, they dropped down even more to 400. So Golf the Round got the top honors for water conservation in Utah when the news of the severe drought started to really become public knowledge. The losers in this battle, the Copper Club. This is, of course, managed by, in the Magna Township. Kennecott owns the property, but doesn't manage the golf course. That's a myth in Utah. They don't actually manage it. But a spokesperson for the mining company did weigh in and said that their course is so well used, and that their well that feeds water to that course is also used for industrial purposes. So their claim is that the number of the water usage that came up in public records request data, the data the state had, was not reflective of what's going to the course itself, because it's also used for industrial use. But where they ran into a problem is that after making that claim, the Salt Lake Tribune found out that, or they confessed rather, well, they don't even track their water use, so they can't really know what their explanation is the case. So that was flagged by the Salt Lake Tribune. They also found that of all the golf courses in the state, the absolute worst when it came to water conservation over the last 2 years, the golf courses that didn't even seem to try, were all in Washington County. Almost all of them in St. George, in fact, but some in Washington County in general. So with the last 2 years seeing little rain and yet these perfectly green golf courses, there's a legitimate question. Can this be done differently? Of the 90 golf courses that data could be found for, now another 25 had no data whatsoever. They weren't even tracking it. They just said, we care so little, we have no idea what our water usage. That props up Representative Welton's argument there, that the golf courses need to be more responsible, and the state should force them if they won't do it willingly. So Republican Doug Welton said, for that reason alone, his bill will be back next year. But of the 90 where they could find data, about 40 golf courses cut their water consumption in 2022 compared to 2021. Some by a lot, some by not so much. Mountain Dell, they cut their water use more than in half in that 1 year period, 21 to 22. Eaglewood did as well. Sun Hills cut quite a bit. Bonneville cut quite a bit. Golf the Round, again, I told you, was the winner for the state. They cut theirs more than in half. And the Promontory Nicholas Painted Valley Golf Course, they dropped their water usage about 30%. Losers in water usage, they deserve an honorable mention. Sunbrook and Coveview Golf Course also dropped between 30 and 40% water usage from 21 to 22. The loser was Sand Hollow Resort. They only dropped their water usage 21 to 22 by 7%. So they cut it down 77%. In Salt Lake City, just one city, for example, the Salt Lake Tribune says they reported a whopping 284 acre feet. Again, that's 284 times 326,000 gallons were saved at its Mountain Dell Golf Course, which is about a 300 and maybe 400 acre golf course. That's huge savings, and yet they kept the golf course operational and actually saw usage go up despite watering a bit less and being smarter about their watering as well. So it's a fascinating look at public data around golf course water usage. And one other thing to look into, in a separate story the Tribune published last week ahead of the data published today, they show how some golf courses did this. Private and public courses taking some very creative steps to change their water usage. And the Tribune went so far as to get satellite imagery of how the golf course changed. Give you an example of how some golf courses cut a lot of their water usage out. One golf course cut their water usage by 25% by simply not watering the areas that weren't actually part of the course, that were just part of, like parking strips and the walk up to the course. They cut those out, cut their water usage by 25%. Representative Welton says, this is exactly what I was talking about. My bill will be back next year, and believe me, I will be haranguing my colleagues that didn't think forcing them to report this data would better inform our approach going forward. That was his statement today. I've linked to both stories on our Facebook page, and we'll be back with more of For the People right after this.
Are you caring for an aging loved one and feeling overwhelmed? I invite you to consider how the supportive community at Legacy House of Logan can help. Their caretakers are so good at helping your loved one with the little things, like dressing, bathing, and managing medications. But Legacy House of Logan is more than just practical support. It's a social community where your loved one can make new friends. Come meet some of the people and tour the facility on 1400 North in Logan and online at legacylogan.com.
If you're a business, hiring always seems to be a concern now and in the future. Plan on attending the Cache Valley Media Group Job Fair Thursday, April 20th at Castle Manor in Hyde Park. Attending the job fair will give you the opportunity to meet with hundreds of potential employees looking for work or a career change. To participate in the job fair, call 752-1390. That's 752-1390 or visit CacheValleyJobFair.com to register. The Cache Valley Media Group Job Fair, Thursday, April 20th.
That is it for hour one of today's show. And stay tuned, honestly. About to have a conversation with Congressman Blake Moore covering everything from the debt ceiling fight coming up this summer and his role as a member of the House Ways and Means Committee in that disagreement between the two parties and the two chambers, both of them having to come up with something that the president will sign one way or another before the country defaults on the bills we already owe. That's going to be a pretty big deal. Congressman Moore will be right in the center of that, and he has agreed to sit down with us here in the studio next hour and answer all the questions, even the ones that he says are hard sometimes for Republicans to answer, and of course the ones that he says are hard for Democrats to answer. We'll cover them all. Congressman Blake Moore, our guest next hour here on KVNU Logan.